Yo, what up, stream? No one's here? It's there. I don't have the chat up. But he's there. That's okay. Okay. Get into it. Okay.
Liked by a lot of the.
Oh my god, that was loud. Jesus.
Establishment and these bureaucracies that thrive on being insulated, in some ways more powerful than the president of the United States, some of the bureaucracies, and that's been proven through history multiple times.
It's been proven through history. True, bro. Very
it
true.
Would be a really great time for a distraction. And the risk is that we are going to suffer from another man-made pandemic before we figured out who's.
So this is leaning into the whole fucking conspiracy around COVID as well. What's up? Oh, I ate one. Yeah. Replace. Not allowed to. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll buy a new one. Okay. I ate her biscuits. So,
Responsible for the last one, and it's going to hurt us so much that we won't even care.
Yeah.
And that's coming. That's why this is urgent. That's why I have no issue partnering with anyone who wants to do activism around this issue. If we thought nuclear disarmament was a core issue threatening, the human race, this type of work is in multiples of hundreds as far as the risk.
Why were there biolabs in Ukraine?
I think that the whole Ukraine thing is really fascinating, right? Like, I can't tell you that.
We know that, by the way. It's not a conspiracy theory. I mean,
no, there's biolabs
the
in Ukraine.
Secretary of State announced it in the Senate hearing.
Totally. And Metabiota and the connections to Hunter Biden. Metabiota is very much connected to the research, including things like the diffuse proposal, including Peter Daszak, who's like an evil scientist / spy, who's potentially not just spying for the U.S., but spying for the Chinese Communist Party and working as a double agent. I mean, all of these, why are all these things, why are they all in the same bucket? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It'd be like, oh, wait.
But why would you have biolabs in a war zone? I don't understand.
Perfect place to have them, right? No one's looking.
has it occurred to them that the biolabs were there before Russia invaded Ukraine? Jesus fucking Christ.
There's no regulation. You can do whatever you want there. In fact, a lot of the work we were offshoring in China served the same purpose. Yep. Their regulations are weak.
Well, that tells you everything right there. I mean, if you're, if I'm looking for a place to construct a biolab, I'm thinking, I don't know, Geneva.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
I'm not thinking the poorest country in Europe, the most corrupt country in Europe, Ukraine. I mean, why would you do that? Because they're the most, capable scientists, or they're not.
A lot can happen.
Jesus Christ. Lying going on here.
In the cloak of chaos and war.
Right.
We know that from history. I mean, things happen in war zones.
He loves saying that. We know that from history. You know that from history. Typos. Anyway.
So just that.
Okay.
Specific question. Toria Newell announces we've got biolabs in Ukraine. What? A few people I noticed, I did a segment on it, immediately attacked by CNN, conspiracy theorists. I don't want to single out CNN, but I think when we look, 10 years from now, if we're still here, we'll see that the pandemic was kind of the high point, the apogee of their power. Like maybe the last moment CNN could actually have an effect on the country. They had so much power. And time and again, it was not an accident. They were saying things they knew weren't true, but that were consistent with the storyline from people like Fauci. Like, what was that?
I mean, in all fairness, let's be real. Your former employer used to do the same thing for years.
I almost got fired over it.
So, fun fact, this is about the Ukrainian biolabs. So, we're going to go through what the conspiracies are. We're going to just debunk it as we go, okay? But nice little conspiracy debunking tonight. I'm going to be streaming for a few hours because I want to just, distract myself with some research.
Oh yeah, they were mad at me.
So let's not. No one is singled out in the corrupt nature of mainstream media.
I agree with that
because it's about ratings. Because Roger Ailes' brilliant idea to make opinion-based news.
Yes.
Killed the Walter Cronkite approach.
Maybe. I worked at CNN before.
Was my murder documentary to be here? Oh, thank you. Bless you. No, I mean, look, this is still somewhat interesting, right? So I'm going to go, I already looked up a little bit to do this stuff the other day, so I'll explain to you what they're lying about. Maybe I should start it again and just go through it. Basically, there's this thing here about COVID is man-made and Ukraine biolabs will lead to another man-made pandemic. COVID is not man-made. You can literally see that it is not man-made because the way that it mutated and changed into SARS-CoV-2 is like, from what I understand, it has none of the traits of a man-made virus. He asks the question, why are the biolabs in Ukraine to begin with? You know, it's a war zone. Yeah. I'm going to tell you again, so get ready. But he's saying here, like, why are the biolabs? Need to lower my chair. Why are the biolabs in Ukraine? It's a war zone. And it's like, because the biolabs, I love when you yap. Thank you. I do love to yap. Like he's saying here, why are the biolabs in Ukraine? Because they were there post the war. Like they were there before the war, sorry. Pre the war. And yeah. They know this. They're deliberately doing it because it's like he is assuming you know nothing on the topic so that he can fill you with the information or that he wants you to think of going forward. He wants you to envision that they placed the labs there in an active war zone to get around regulations and stuff like that to make it seem more nefarious. But what actually happened is, pre the war in Ukraine, the US set an agreement. We'll go through it in a bit, but like the US set an agreement where they would help Ukraine to, you know, what was it? Like they're funding Ukraine to better maintain the bio shit. I think they had like old like bioweapons from the Soviet Union, and the US helped them like de-arm it and like destroy it all. And then they've also got like a pathogen research facility in like a bunch of them in Ukraine, because obviously, like, you know, they're gonna have pathogens around there. A research center. Pretty sure there's pathogen research places in Australia, and there's some in China. Like, it's not that big of a fucking deal. Anyway.
For, you know, Fox started, and it was the same idea. I mean, that, you know, that's a complicated question.
I
But
mean, every one of them has a cancer
If
from
you're
within.
saying-
MSNBC, I mean, they had Fauci on and celebrated his book. He was on Maddow. He was on all these people. And look, I know for a fact that Rachel Maddow is a very intelligent person, and I think she may mean well. I know Joy Reid. Joy Reid was in one of my films. She's an intelligent person, and she means well. The industry that they are in is driven by this kind of insanity, and it's a miracle that you made it out, honestly.
Well, I was fired, but
It's a blessing you were fired.
Oh, I agree. But no, my question is not like,
He was fired because he was spreading knowingly and deliberately spreading lies about the 2020 election, saying that it was rigged. And because of the Dominion company suing Fox News, he ended up costing Fox News $1 billion. Like, that's why you got fired. But he won't mention that. Megu, there are biolabs. Yep, I'm aware. The conspiracy theories are like making it seem like there's some nefarious reason for there to be biolabs there. It's like they're completely legitimate. Like they were there before the war in Ukraine. He tried to frame it as, why would you put them in an active war zone? It's like they were there beforehand, right? And these are the same conspiracies that Russia like has tried to push with Georgia as well. So, yes.
are they good people or not? I mean, obviously I know them all. I spent my life there. But the question is, like, what are the mechanisms that the government uses to control media coverage?
That's an interesting question. How far up the ladder do we want to go? Do we want to let it be the government controlling media companies, or do we want to admit that the government has suffered from complete agency capture in every division of the government, and that veiled interests like pharmaceutical companies or the military industrial complex?
Yes, they are. They're just research facilities. That's all they are. But they're framing it as like if it's something nefarious, right? We're gonna go through it all and put it all out there because this is part of like a little bit of a research stream. I looked up a little bit of it just to make sure I know what scope to look up everything, right? What to focus on. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun stream.
You know, companies, for-profit corporations, influence the government more than its voters, more than its politicians.
Right. So we're getting back to where you started, which was by saying, I thought astutely, that what you're looking at are powers bigger than nation states, more powerful than nation states. And when you say agency capture, it's not just in the strict sense of a federal agency, it's agency, which is to say the freedom to do what you want, you know, agency, like human agency.
Sure.
The government doesn't have agency, actually, because it's subject to powers bigger than itself.
Correct. And I want to, you know, I've been dying to do this, but the deep state was ours first.
The deep state, brother. Fucking idiots, dude. Oh my lord. I don't fucking know, dude. What is my life, chinchilla?
I mean, you know, the concept of a deep state was a leftist concept of agency capture and things like this. I mean, we could argue that.
I still don't.
It's a buzz. It's a dog whistle.
I agree. And I hate using it because I feel like a freaking wacko because I lived in D.C. for so long. Family worked for the government. And I just always scoffed at people who use that term. But of course, it's completely real.
It works well.
They were right. And some of the people I disliked most, I'll just say it, they were right about that. They were. Maybe the biggest lie about abortion is that it's just not.
What? Just, yeah, literally. Like, just blame the Jews, bro. Like, what are we doing?
Big deal. That's not
Just say Illuminati. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
true. And
You know what's fucked up, Chinchilla? I have to, like, I have to private this VOD afterwards because this dickhead fucking copyright claims your content. Because he's a fucking asshole.
studies show it. A year after having an abortion, women overall had a 50% higher chance of needing psychiatric treatment and an 87% higher likelihood of personality and behavioral disorders. That's not health care, it's a tragedy. Preborn's network clinics are different when here.
But nobody gives a fuck about it.
And mainstream media, same thing, dog whistle. You hear that on the left, you're like, oh, I'm done talking to you. Mainstream media, whatever, guy. You know, go back to your conspiracy theorist, right? Let's Bolshevik, communist, okay, terrorist, conspiracy theorist. Notice a trend?
Yeah.
Right? These deep state, mainstream media, people who devise strategies for capturing the population this way aren't dumb. We're as a species, we need it to be simple, right? And we're currently being divided by simple concepts like that, even though the truth behind them is very real. We do have a problem with mainstream media being completely captured. And you asked, how does it happen? Why is it that there are wall-to-wall ads for medicines? Do you think anyone's sitting at home saying, you know, honey, I want to talk to the doctor about...
Well, I need to private your mum. So that we got in common. Well, you know what I think? I think you should go fuck yourself, bitch. You know what? Just for that? You know what you're getting? There you go. Get wrecked. Now you're a moderator.
a prescription for Rex Luby or whatever.
Rybelsus.
Rybelsus, or, I can't even, they're so absurd. The names, they've run out of names. They're so absurd now. What is that?
So it's funny. I mean, I started in...
So you're fucking distracting me now, don't you? Yeah, get wrecked, bitch. Now you're a moderator.
Rex Luby or whatever.
We have to do what counterpoints. I'm just going to add like 50,000 moderators.
Rybelsus.
Rybelsus, or, I can't even, they're so absurd. The names, they've run out of names. They're so absurd now. What is that?
So it's funny.
What is that?
I mean, I started in
What
cable
is that?
TV in 1995. That's 30 years.
And I'm already bored of this fucking video. What else we got? We got it. Fucking Biolabs. Very scary. All right, Tucker Carlson doing the same thing again.
Does Ukraine have biological weapons? Ukraine has biological research facilities. What? You mean secret biolabs?
Like Doobie. First of all, you don't pay me money, so you can't be Doobie, you know? Get wrecked.
Like the secret biolabs Ukraine definitely doesn't have? Ukraine.
They're not secret biolabs. How are they secret biolabs if you know they exist and they're publicly admitted to and everything? Like, what does this even fucking mean? Does he know what the word secret means?
Has those,
God, he's
yes,
such
it
a
does.
fucking retard.
And not only does Ukraine have secret biolabs, Toria Newland said, whatever they're doing in those labs is so dangerous and so scary that she is, quote, quite concerned that the so-called research material inside those biolabs might fall into the hands of Russian forces.
Yeah. And?
Try not to use profanity on the air to describe our reaction. Our jaws drop. Let's leave it there. Under
Wow.
oath in an open committee hearing, Toria Newland just confirmed that the Russian disinformation they've been telling us for days is a lie and a conspiracy theory and crazy and immoral to believe is in fact totally and completely true. Whoa. You don't hear things like that?
Okay, so the thing is that Fox News just acquires news and reads it. I don't give a fuck, bro. No. What he's doing here is deliberately misinforming his viewers. Yeah, they're targeting Russian DNA. My favorite one was, like, he's sitting here and he's going, they said that it wasn't real. No, what they said was that wasn't real, Tucker, was that Ukraine were creating super soldiers that were devoid of humanity to kill Russian soldiers. That's actually what they said was not fucking true. Not that the fucking facilities didn't exist. The facilities have existed for fucking, like, how long? The US had an agreement in 2005 with Ukraine to help manage it and fund and everything to keep that shit secure and up and running. Like,
Every day. in
fucking
Washington.
hell.
Talk about a showstopper. And a dozen questions instantly jump to mind. What exactly are they doing in these secret Ukrainian biolabs?
What do they do? I'm just asking questions.
Ukraine is the poorest country in Europe. It's hardly a hotbed of biomedical research.
It used to be a part of the Soviet Union, and they had biological weapons there, so they repurposed the facilities to also do research on pathogens. Like, for fuck's sakes.
We're assuming these weren't pharmaceutical
Poorest country in Europe is probably a lot richer than most third world countries. Like, what the fuck are you on about?
labs. Probably not.
Can we just
developing
leave Tucker
independently.
in a Russian
From
supermarket?
your answer, Toria
True.
Newland, we would assume
Should leave him in a fucking shallow grave is what we should do.
This research, that they were working
In a
on
video game.
bioweapons.
In
Again, your
Minecraft.
answer suggests that. Why would we fund something like that in Ukraine? And why didn't you secure the contents of these biolabs before the Russians arrived, as you knew they would? And then
Because then they're taking possession of biological weapons. Where do they store them, Tucker? What do they do with them? Do you have any idea how complicated it would be to do something like that? Do you want them to take the biological weapons to the US? Then you're going to criticize them for taking biological weapons and bringing them to the fucking US. Might be better to just leave them in the facility where they are, the biological fucking material. Like, Jesus Christ, it's not that
Your
complicated.
way to lie to the American public about all of this.
They're lying to us. No. They're lying to the American public.
What would be the effect on Ukraine and then on the rest of the world? How can we prepare for the consequences of that, this thing that you're worried about? Shouldn't we be preparing? Because as it
Shouldn't
turns
we
out,
be
just spent the last
preparing?
2 years living with a pathogen that began in another foreign biolab funded by the United States government.
It wasn't. I'm sorry, I don't know why. You know what? Why doesn't he just get sued again? Can China sue Tucker Carlson for lying about it being in a biolab? Normalize suing these people. For real.
So this question is on our mind. It seems fair. Now, that's some of what we would have asked if we were U.S. senators, which we're not. Yes, there's a time limit be damned, because this is kind of important. But Rubio did not ask those questions. Instead, he changed the subject and told us once again that Vladimir...
It's not biological weapons. It's yeah, I know that. I'm aware. I'm just like, I misspoke. It's not biological weapons, it's biological material, right? They're pathogens that they use for research, right? And even then, I don't even know if they're... We're gonna go through it all in a second and actually see what they're actually doing at those sites anyway, man. Don't stress. I'm not just like taking what he has. I'm just mentioning that this was a place where they had biological weapons, like post-Soviet Union. Because one of the things that he's doing is he's framing it in this context to make it seem like the US funded so that they were created there. But that's not what happened. They already existed. The US funded to either have them destroyed or properly secured. And because, you know, you don't necessarily want to destroy them, because you might want to research them so that if, say, one day Russia decides, hey, we're going to release a bio-fucking weapon, guess what? They've already got all the Soviet research right there, and they can, like, you know, counteract that pretty quickly. But yeah. Probably. I'm just assuming, you know. Doesn't make sense to, you know, get rid of things that you can learn from.
Putin is bad. Watch.
If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator.
When your mum came over, she was a biological weapon onto me. You know what? Just for that, you're losing your moderator. Now what, bitch?
And it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Yes, this is absolutely what they do. And we're going to see that in a second. Actually, you know what? Now is the perfect time to show it. Russia has done this before with Georgia 2 years before the... Was it 2 years? Yeah, 2 years before the Ukraine war. I believe. Yeah.
We will show inside Georgia's
anyway, see, they did the same thing with Georgia.
Prevents the spread of dangerous diseases. But pro-Kremlin media claim it spreads disease, experimenting on humans with cancer, the Zika virus, killer mosquitoes, and
Killer
plagues of
mosquitoes.
stink bugs. I asked the
Plagues of
laboratory's
stink bugs.
director whether there was any truth to these narratives.
But we are not making Zika virus in this laboratory.
The killer mosquitoes?
But the laboratory is, the level of the laboratory is so high that we can diagnose here the Zika, Ebola, Crimea, Congo, and many, many infection diseases.
No.
You can diagnose them, right? They're prepared for that kind of stuff, but they're not actively creating it, right? So...
But we are not making these viruses here.
Viruses. I like his accent. Georgian accent's very cool.
What?
Don't forget Brexit and the Ukraine referendum in the Netherlands undermined by Russian nonsense. So what I am, because this is for the next video, is I'll tell you what I'm focusing on for the next video. So the outline for it is, I wanted to, because when I did the whole leftist thing, I was listening to a lot of like conspiracies being pushed by tankies and stuff around Ukraine, and people like Tucker Carlson and that. So I wanted to focus on the main, like a lot of the main like misinformation things that a lot of these people, like pro-Russian people, really pivot to. And that's like the Euromaidan and the Revolution of Dignity, right? So I wanted to talk a lot about that, focus on the facts around that and some of the misinformation that's spread on that. I wanted to bring up Flight MH17 again and how Russia is definitely to blame for it. I I remember when that happened, there was a lot of misinformation being pushed by the Russian government on that. And a big one I really want to focus on is the genocide in the Donbass. I'm pretty sure you would know about that one. That is a good one. That is a big fucking pivot. This idea of Ukraine discriminating against like Russian ethnics and shit. Like, that is, you know, you and I both know that shit doesn't happen, but it's going to be good to put that in a video and just kind of really, you know, kind of destroy that a little bit. But yeah, that'll be a big thing that I'm focused. There's actually like a few things I'm going to be doing for the videos coming up. There's Ukraine misinformation. I wanted to eventually do a video on leftist propaganda, as well as some of the how Trump approaches a lot of the like Russian misinformation tactics and propaganda, as well as I need to start focusing on Australian politics again. Pauline Hanson is a pretty disastrous thing that's happening in Australia, and I really want to kind of bury that bitch a little bit. She pisses me off. You know, anytime you look into any of these things, the amount of misinformation that goes into it all is just pretty disheartening how much people can lie and get away with it. Anyway, so in 2016 we had a referendum in the Netherlands. The Russian battalion burned a Dutch flag, all so the Ukraine couldn't get the association agreement. Why would the Russian battalion burn a Dutch flag? Like, doesn't that just make Russia look bad? Or did they just frame it on Ukraine? But anyway, let's focus on streams. It was a French flag. They thought it was a Dutch, and they said they were from Ukraine. So it was like a misinformation thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, people just kind of believe shit for some fucking reason. Why would Ukraine have anything against the Dutch? Wait, so they couldn't even burn the flag properly? That's funny. Okay.
Rated stink bug.
No.
I'm not a scientist, but what I have been seeing here suggests that this laboratory is exactly what the Georgian government says it is. The Russian claims that what's going on at the Luga lab is far more sinister haven't been supported by any hard evidence. Facebook investigators made the startling claim that Georgia's governing party had adopted Russian-style disinformation to discredit its opponents. Facebook shut down dozens of fake news
What does that sound like, eh?
and pages. Government officials deny the allegations, but fact-checking organizations say political groups in Georgia increasingly employ such tactics. More than 100 Facebook pages connected to far-right organizations spread anti-Western narratives. And they're in Georgian language. Yes, in Georgian. The Alliance of Patriots Party, which came third in elections in 2016, claims homosexuality is a Western disease and that NATO membership will cause another war with Russia.
And if homosexuality is a Western disease, then I got it bad. I'm just kidding. Like, I don't understand. Why are people so fucking bent out of shape over gay people, dude? Just say that you're gay and you're upset about it. Like, you might as well. That's less embarrassing.
You're fighting a losing battle. Is that how you would characterize it?
Yes, because what we see, the groups of these people is increasing, the audience number is increasing, and so they're working very coordinated. So in this case, we have at least a reason to admit this and to start working on that issue.
Like a virus, disinformation in Georgia is spreading faster than it can be contained. Robin Forrestier Walker, Al Jazeera, Tbilisi.
You cough. Tell me, Doc, what's the problem? You have the gay. You have gayness. Okay. Now we're gonna do some reading. So enjoy that. I will read it out for you, okay? It's like story time. Okay, I'll put on some music too. Hang on. Here is the... Enjoy, guys. This is what a research stream is. You're going to have to listen to me read. Ukraine, US biolabs, and an ongoing Russian disinformation campaign. In an attempt to justify Russia's invasion of Ukraine, propagandists claimed the attack was focused on secret US biolabs there. In the early hours of February 24th, 2022, local time, as Russia conducted what Ukrainian leaders described as a full-scale attack on Ukraine, as a conservative, I'd rather have the world be taken over by Russia than the gays. Shut up. Keep it up, I'll moderate you again. In the early hours of February 24th, 2022 local time, as Russia conducted what Ukrainian leaders described as a full-scale attack on Ukraine, the hashtag US Biolabs started to trend on Twitter as dozens of accounts repeated a piece of Russian propaganda claiming that the actual focus of Russia's invasion of Ukraine was secret US biolabs where deadly diseases such as COVID-19 were supposedly being produced. Crazy how many different reasons they give, hey? It's like, oh, the biolabs, the discrimination on the Russian ethnics. Oh. It's okay, I was joking. Jesus. Chinchilla. Or did you get it, did it remove because of YouTube? Hang on. By the way, Donbass are ethnic Russians. I'm aware, but they're also Ukrainian, right? They're all Slavic, right? That doesn't... Oh, you happen to misclick? Oh, based. I mean, yeah, but there's also ethnic Russians in the middle of the Ukrainian cities, right? Ethnically Russian is just like... You know what? No. Real base take. There is no such thing as ethnically Russian. Ha! How's it feel now, Putin? You bitch? Anyway, I'm joking. The claim that the US is operating secret biolabs in Ukraine is one that has been repeatedly spread by Russian propagandists since at least 2018. In May 2020, the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, released a statement calling on politicians to stop spreading false information about the existence of foreign military biological labs in Ukraine. They aren't ethnic Russians, they are Ukrainian people who speak Russian. Yeah, I'm aware. Completely unrelated, my roommate just said, she's cold, it's 22 fucking degrees. Yeah, that's cold! I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Anyway. That's like lovely weather. That's going out and having a good day kind of weather. Recently, fake news about the alleged activities of American military biological laboratories in Ukraine has been spread in the media and social networks. No foreign biological laboratories operate in Ukraine. Statements recently made by individual politicians are not true and are a deliberate distortion of the facts. In February 2022, during the invasion of Ukraine, this false rumor started trending on Twitter after @WarClandestine posted a thread claiming that a map of Russia's missile attacks lined up with with the location of these biolabs. It's like 1,000,000 degrees to you? Well, damn. You're gonna look like, have you seen that SpongeBob SquarePants scene where it's like they talk to that elderly lady and they're like, is your mother home? And then fucking she's like, yeah, let me just go get her, and she's just like a dried up turd. Just like, chocolate. Anyway, look at this fucking rat. Then I started digging. You should dig yourself a grave so someone can cap your ass in a video game. Show this. It's Echo. This Aussie is getting cooked. Spiders from his toilet. They need the grogs to survive. Ooh, you know what? Give me a second. Give me a second. All right, you ready, Chinchilla? Actually, hang on, let me put it on full screen so you can see this. I think this is the right one. Oh, nope. There we go. See that, buddy? The grog. So I'll drink a grog on stream for you, okay? Chinchilla's about to lose it. Okay. Thread ended with a comparison of two maps, one supposedly showing missile strikes and the second supposedly showing US Biolab locations. No, this is like a alcoholic beverage. So in Australia, we very commonly refer to alcohol as grog, right? It's just like a slang term. And these YouTubers, these YouTubers created their own brand of like flavored soju and vodka drink. And this one's mandarin flavored. It's probably the best one they got. And yeah, it's called Grog. I don't know if you would know who Max Mofo is, but yeah, this is his brand. And his friend Chungus, Big Chungus, I think his name is. Anyway. Yeah, this is interesting. Oh shit. Yeah, cool. They have biolabs in Kiev. Oh, Kiev. Sorry, Kiev, not Kiev. Of course I know. Yeah, I was more referencing to Echo, because I feel like Echo might not know that. No. It's not Chad. That's you're thinking of Justical. That's his name's Big Chungus. Before we get into the factual details that disprove this theory, such as the fact that the US did not install and does not operate biolabs in Ukraine, completely nullifying the second half of this comparison, let's note a few quick observations about these two maps. The missile attack map shows dozens of hits that don't match up to alleged biolabs locations, and the biolab map contains several locations that don't match up with the missile map. Yeah, like all of this. CIA drank my grog. You know what? This one was best before in December of 2025, so this is probably going to make me sick. But I do this for you, Chinchilla. Ooh. Oh, it smells like vodka. Ugh. That's yum. It's fermented. I think the music's a bit loud. Maybe. Is the music okay? It's not too loud? I might turn it down a little bit. Okay. Is COVID-19 a bioweapon? Keep in mind, Snopes is owned by Mossad. Sochu, it's a bit different. Yeah. Shochu. Spelt like this. Conspiracy theories are often built on top of one another. The claim that the US is operating biolabs in Ukraine, for example, is built on the false notion that the United States, or according to similar theories, China, intentionally started the COVID-19 pandemic with a human-made bioweapon. Once you buy into that rumor, you can be sold the next, that Russia is invading Ukraine to stop the next pandemic. How dare you? You're so mean, Chinchilla. I thought we were friends. On social media, a number of people responded to a US biolabs thread with false claims about Russia attacking Ukraine to stop COVID-2. Okay. Bioweapons from being released. You can see here. Has anyone considered US biolabs in Ukraine as a reason for rising tensions? The same map from before. Good that they put this false thing here. unprovoked. Go ahead and read the facts, bro. US is sponsoring biolabs. True. The problem, of course, is that there is no credible evidence that COVID-19 is a biological weapon. Stanley Perlum, MD, PhD, professor of microbiology and immunology, Jesus, I can't talk, and pediatric infectious diseases at the University of Iowa in Iowa City, said COVID-19 is sufficiently unlike other viruses to have been created from them, and making a virus in a lab from scratch would be virtually impossible. I don't think we know enough about coronaviruses or any viruses to be able to deliberately make a virus for release. True. This is a very good fucking point. Does he have... Okay, I need this. This is really good. Did the US military install biolabs in Ukraine? Conspiracy theories are often fashioned from a small morsel of truth. In this case, the rumors are a distortion of the facts that the Ministry of Health of Ukraine and the Department of Defense of the United States of America entered into an agreement in 2005 while Republican US President George W. Bush was in office to stem the threat of bioterrorism by placing safeguards on deadly pathogens dating from a Soviet-era biological weapons program. According to a contemporaneous news article in the Chicago Tribune, while the U.S. Defense Department Biological Threat Reduction Program provided some funding to upgrade biolabs in the Ukraine, these facilities are operated by the Ukrainian government under the guidelines set under Ukrainian law. True. If Ukraine invented corona, they had some cutting edge yeah, I know, right? They would literally be the forefront of fucking bioweapon research on the planet, but they're also too poor to, for some reason, have that shit there, according to Tucker Carlson. It's incredible, right? They're simultaneously the most technologically advanced and also impoverished. Like, I don't know. Ugh. I don't drink alcohol very much anymore. Okay. I think that's pretty sufficient, to be honest. And this was actually a really good article. This, like... Here we go. Lab release of natural virus. For many years... Okay, this is like a different topic, which I should do. But yeah. There is zero evidence. Yeah, we already know that. The disinformation campaign. The rumors in the aftermath of the February 2022 invasion of Ukraine by Russia were just the latest iterations of an ongoing disinformation campaign that has been waged by the Kremlin for years. Sophie Galeva of the Sibley's. How the fuck do you say that word?
Tbilisi.
Tbilisi, thank you. Goddamn European language. Goddamn Europeans. I don't speak American. Know what I'm saying? Anyway, okay. That's pretty much that, to be honest, for that one. What else are we reading? This is the agreement between the United States and Ukraine. Okay. Did he just say Mia Khalifa? Ayo, Mia Khalifa. Is that building in Iraq? The Mia Khalifa Tower? You know what? This is basically just the agreement, and we already know about it. Okay, cool. So it's just debunked. I just debunked it already. What else can we do? I guess that's it, hey? I don't know. We could probably watch some more like nut jobs. There is hope. Hopium. Apartheid in Palestine. Boost! Anyway, oh yeah, I had this guy. Alright, we're off the music for a little bit. Chill out. Everyone relax. Look at this dude. Okay, I suppose we go. Your home scream is gorgeous. I saw Rem. True. Yeah, you can have a look at it again. Rem.
And twigs. So, have you? You know, you can. I'm sure you already knew this, but you know, you can go look at all the government contracts that they put out, because you obviously you can.
You know, you could look at all of the guys, like, see how he's like trying to say, make it seem like he did more research than what he did. Why is he tweaking so much? I have Tourette's. Oh no. Oh no. Dude. What the hell, bro? Your channel rocks. How typical. A good channel with no effing views or anything. I subscribe to your channel, bro. He has way more subscribers than me. Fuck, dude. You suck.
Look at it because you can put offers in on them.
Yes, it's Rem from ReZero. Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure it's my favorite anime. Yeah, after the first season, it's just like nothing else can be that peak. The animation quality's gotten a lot better lately. It's been really good.
you can also go back and look at all the inactive ones. So after we talked about the Biolab thing yesterday,
Okay, dude.
and Goose led me to the state government website and showed me the agreement signed between Obama and Senator Lugar and Yushchenko of Ukraine with the biolabs that actually ends up being true. Shockingly. Well, not shockingly, but I just didn't think I would end up believing it until then. I went and created a website. If you go to sam.gov, sam.gov, you can go create a entity and register your entity, and you can go and look at all of the contracts. So all the weapons contracts for the military, all that stuff. And it's pretty interesting, but I went on and I researched the gain of function stuff to see what kind of contracts the government was going to put out or has been putting out. And I want to say this first. So if you go on the state website, Russia has been putting a lot of propaganda out about the weapons of mass destruction. I talked about this the other day. And obviously I thought it was a joke. It's like, come on, is Ukraine really trying to get nuclear weapons? Now it seems like they may. But the whole biolab thing, I was like, why would we put biolabs in Ukraine? Of all places, right? So
again, like we've just gone through it. The US did not put biolabs in Ukraine. They are Ukrainian labs. The US is funding it so that things are more secure to prevent bioterrorism in the future, right? So that everything is, above board and secure and safe. So,
The state
I don't
government
fucking know.
website, they have a note, and it says, the Kremlin is intentionally spreading outright lies that the United States and Ukraine are conducting chemical and biological weapons activities in Ukraine. We have also seen PRC officials echo these conspiracy theories. The Russian disinformation is total nonsense, and not the first time Russia has invented such false claims against another country. Also, these claims have been debunked conclusively and repeatedly over many years. As we have said all along, Russia is inventing false pretexts in an attempt to justify its own horrific actions in Ukraine. The United States does not own or operate any chemical or biological laboratories in Ukraine. It is in full compliance with its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention and Biological Weapons Convention, and it does not develop or possess such weapons anywhere.
Nice.
It is Russia that has active chemical and biological weapons programs and is in violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention and Biological Weapons Convention. Finally, Russia has a track record of accusing the West of the very crimes that Russia itself is perpetrating. These tactics are an obvious ploy by Russia to try and justify further premeditated, unprovoked, and unjustified attacks on Ukraine. We fully expect Russia to continue to double down on these sorts of claims with further unfounded allegations. When I read that, now this is on the Department of State website. Think about how, when someone really fucks up, right? And you caught them, and you start saying, hey, you're doing this, and they like back against the wall, and they're like, I didn't do that. They did that, and they start blaming it, and like, listen to the terminology used in that statement by our government. It's almost, it's not even saying like, oh, there's a lot of misinformation out there, just be aware. It's not even like...
But there are super funny Russian propagandists. This one is an English guy, called a Tanks gamer that married a Russian. Can you link me it? If you can find it, can you link it to me on Discord? I think I've got you on Discord. Let me see. It's been a while since I've messaged you, I think. Bruh. Oh, here you are. See, I just waved at you. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. You're actually a fucking legend for this. Cancelled on YouTube for speaking truth. The most right-wing sounding YouTube title I've ever heard in my life. Why is this fucking so low?
Who is Mike Jones?
Mike Jones. No, it's Johnson.
According to the UK government, a terrorist? For me, I feel like I'm living the textbooks that I studied in school. Mike Jones is flying by the seat of his pants. Like, I tell you I'm bullshitting, but I'm not. But I literally, I've been there, I've seen it, I believe it. That's why I can't even talk to my parents about politics. I'm not going to play your game. I'm not going to engage in your... I didn't vote in the UK because I did not want to even entertain your circus. Bread and beer circus, BBC.
PVC? I think you mean big black cock, bro.
3, 2, 1.
This is my jam.
Welcome to a special edition of Moscow Photographer. Today, I'm joined by a figure who sparked controversy and conversation across the internet. Mike Jones, better known online as I. Earl Grey, became a household name in the digital realm for his unique perspective on geopolitics.
Ooh, we're gonna find this guy's YouTube channel. Here it is. Oh, is he gone? Look Kremlin. This is totally unbiased. I think his channel's gone. I think it's I. Earl Grey TV. Yeah, his channel's gone. Earl Grey got banned several times off YouTube, but there's basically a network to prop their channels on. Oh, okay, doke. All good.
Political
I'll look up
issues,
more of his stuff later.
particularly those
This is only a
involving
20-minute
Russia.
thing, so we can chill.
His journey took a dramatic turn when YouTube, citing violations related to the spread of content favorable to Russian narratives, effectively canceled his channel. With the BRICS 2024 summit in Kazan as a background, I sit down with Mike Jones to unravel the layers behind his work, his motivations, and the repercussions of sharing information online. Join us as we explore the thin line between information and propaganda in an exclusive interview with Mike Jones. We're recording, by the way. I think we are we? You see the red light on?
Recording.
All right. Who is Mike Jones?
Mike Jones! Well, if you Google him, I think he's a big black rapper in a Florida penitentiary. I think so.
Must be.
Must be. Yeah, he's not me. Mike Jones. Well, according to the UK government, a terrorist.
Yes.
After I delivered Christmas presents to children in Donbass.
Bona fide.
Yeah. Apparently that violated the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Yep.
And I will face 8 years in prison for my terroristic activities on that. So
good.
That's Mike Jones in Russia. Mike Jones is flying by the seat of his pants, making it up as he goes along, and trying to make sense of, honestly, a roller coaster of a world. I don't think certainly in my lifetime, I've witnessed such, not just monumental, but a precarious ride where we've had these bumps. So not only have we had the special military operation in Ukraine kick off, then we've had Israel. We've had almost all the prophecies and foreboding that pretty much...
This was filmed in a propaganda video, the present stuff. Oh. Found the foreign agent intel substack. Not typing fucking email. Bruh, this is becoming a rabbit hole. Gotta be careful.
Predicted
Otherwise
Zhirinovsky
they'll be
in
looking up
Russia
too
was
much
a big
shit.
one, and he was a really an astute political mind, and I would advise anyone that's watching to look into Zhirinovsky, because even President Putin himself said that this was a guy who he was not a prophet, he was just well educated. He knew his field of focus, and he was well researched, and that's how he successfully predicted the turn of events that's coming to pass. For me, I feel like I'm living the textbooks that I studied in school. I'm seeing Nazis. I'm witnessing the war crimes, things that I thought were consigned to history, that we all agreed in the West would never happen again. And yet, on my watch, I'm seeing my own government not just condone, but sponsor and facilitate and even glorify these war crimes. And then I speak to the actual people. I'm in that privileged position where I can be from the West, having read Biggles.
He went to the Donbass on a paid trip. Yeah, that's what I figured was the case. He's just a propagandist for Russia. Yeah, I'll get that.
Having watched The Great Escape every Christmas, seeing Steve McQueen jump over the fence, and we were like, oh, down with the Nazis. Then I literally see the footage from Kursk. Those guys are wearing SS helmets with SS written on them. And then we have, well, Victoria Newland. Okay, yeah, she stepped down from her post, but her ilk, Blinken, as well. And we see the BBC headlines. I think now with Israel, we had COVID first. That was a good litmus test. Then we had Ukraine. That was another litmus test. And now with Israel, this is where the division was really taking place, where people are seeing propaganda, certainly the Western version.
See how they weaponize the anti-Israel sentiments to try and legitimize a lot of the Russian shit too? So they see, like, there's a public dissatisfaction that has been heavily pushed on the whole Israel stuff, and then they weaponize that to legitimize the anti-Ukraine stuff, right? Like, see, it's all part of the same thing. Victoria Newland. I don't know her. I feel like I should. I feel like I've heard that name before. Victoria Newland. Former spokesperson for the United States Department of State. Served under Secretary of State for Political Affairs from 2021 to 2024. A former member of the U.S. Foreign Service, she served as blah, 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 blah. She sounds fucking based.
Of where you see like 28 dead. No, it's 28 people were killed, murdered, not 28 dead. The choice of language is very Orwellian, and we're really seeing that in the language, in the propaganda, in the media.
Mm-hmm.
If Russia were blamed for anything, it'd be...
Okay, I'm gonna have to look up the fucking Victoria Newland shit. I didn't need to open another thing. What about this call?
He's going to be at that level,
children.
working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Okay, good. Well, do you want us to try to set up a call with him as the next step?
My understanding from that call, but you tell me, was that the big three were going into their own meeting, and that Yats was going to offer in that context
I'm happy to help you anytime. I am the propaganda guy. Hell yeah.
a three-way, the 3+1 conversation or 3+2 with you. Is that not how you understood it?
No, I mean, that's what he proposed, but I think just knowing the dynamic that's been with them where Klitschko's been the top dog, he's going to take a while to show up for whatever meeting they've got, and he's probably talking to his guys at this point. So I think you reaching out directly to him helps with the personality management among the three, and it gives you also a chance to move fast on all this stuff and put us behind it before they all sit down and he explains why he doesn't like it.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Why don't you reach out to him and see if he wants to talk before or after?
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Okay, I've now written, one more wrinkle for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I told you this or if I only told Washington this, that when I talked to Jeff Feltman this morning, he had a new name for the UN guy, Robert Seri. Did I write you that this morning?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's now gotten both Seri and Ban Ki-moon to agree that Seri could come in Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
Is used to say that Ukraine is compromised by the West. It literally sounds like nothing. Fragment of what may well be a larger phone conversation, but the US has not denied it. I think we're in play obviously the complicated electron here. To keep the moderate Democrats together, the problem is going to be I feel like I've heard of this before. I think it was like all they're doing is discussing their opinions on things. Like, they're not doing anything. Okay. Anyway, I don't care about this.
Murdered, slaughtered on the street. But when Israel does it, it's just, 28 dead. Not big news. So I think that people are waking up both.
Yes, it's called messaging. Okay, cool. Exactly. They're just speaking who they're like, yeah, exactly. It's not even a big deal.
I wouldn't say both in Russia.
Like, big surprise, the West tends to favor people that are pro-Western and are like, yeah, it would be really cool if we could get that guy. Like, every country does this. But the difference is that Russia deliberately tries to prop up people through, like, subversion and shit like that. And, yeah.
I think Russian people are understanding quite
the difference between above board and being nefarious and plotting things.
That they were sold for many years. Delusion, really, in all truth and honesty. And then the West, the curtain is really falling back. We're seeing the Wizard of Oz behind there, and he's just smashing away at those buttons, AI buttons, for the most part, now with Grok and things like this. And
it's stuff like this that really makes me feel like the Israel shit is very much a disinformation campaign and a malinformation campaign and shit. And it's not just being weaponized, it's like being pushed. Because, like, to see so many of the anti-Ukraine people be anti-Israel as well just concerns me a lot. Anyway, that's just
more and more people
that's just the little gears in my head turning a little bit.
are being disillusioned, and they want to move to Russia. It's conviction, dude. You know what I'm saying? Conviction.
Of course, you believe what you're saying.
Like, I tell you, I'm bullshitting, but I'm not.
No. Of course you're
in the
not.
sense of, sure, it's all the key buzzwords that everyone wants to hear. But I literally, I've been there, I've seen it, I believe it. That's why I can't even talk to my parents about politics.
Because you're stuck in Russia now?
How do your parents feel about you?
Well, my parents will tell me they're proud of me, but we can't talk politics. So they give me the BBC stuff that, oh, Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. First of all, not full-scale at all. It's a special military operation. I've been there. I've literally seen the machinery that's going in. I know Russia's military might, and you know that it's only a percentage. You know that, but you're not told that. You're told it's full-scale military invasion, like Russia is.
Talking points.
Yeah. But the issue is, I've been there, and you can't argue.
Like, the whole space in the Middle East is like less people than the Netherlands. Imagine Hassan. Space in the Middle East is like less people than the Netherlands. Imagine Hassan talking about the Netherlands all the time. Yeah, look, I don't have an issue with people having an interest in the Middle East. The problem is that people have an interest in the Middle East while knowing nothing about the Middle East, right? I changed my perspective on Israel-Palestine based on the information that I fucking learned about the shit, right? And I just see a lot of people that just have a conclusion already. Like, how do you look at October 7th and not just go, oh, that was really fucking awful? Like, there were so many, like, I'll be real, man. I used to be one of those guys that were just like, you know what? I don't like Israel. I think they're doing the apartheid thing. I think that what they're doing to the Gazans and everything is fucking horrible and evil and they're Nazis and yada, 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 right? But then the problem is that October 7th was a really good, is a very good litmus test for whether or not someone is being morally consistent, right? Because I could look at that and say, that was absolutely nothing what I was supporting and what I wanted to happen, right? And, you know, I genuinely got bent out of shape over it. I was like, why the fuck am I supporting a movement that thinks that something like that is acceptable? And it was a big wake-up call for me. It was like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't the person I am, right? And so, you know, yeah, it was a big wake-up call. If you ever want to clock someone on the Israel-Palestine, ask them what a Druze is, because they don't know. I mean, I don't fucking know either. But, I think that's the most important thing, honestly, though. It isn't what you do know, it's about acknowledging what you don't know, right? And that's what I don't get from a lot of people who are pro-Palestine. They don't acknowledge what they don't know. They want to tell you how they are very, very sure. And that's kind of like a problem for me. If you are to the point where you know very little about a topic but are very bloodthirsty, there's probably something wrong with you. Like, I'm not celebrating when a house collapses and kills a bunch of people in Gaza, so I don't know why you're celebrating people being killed on October 7th. You know? But it is what it is. That's the world we live in, I guess, where people are... Your morals shouldn't change based on which side of a political spectrum you're on, you know? It's the ethnic population who ruled Syria. Oh, so they're Palestinian, right? No, I'm thinking of Jordan. My bad. That was factually incorrect. I feel like yeah. Okay. Anyway, you keep putting me on a tangent, bro. I'm supposed to be doing. Anyway.
With that.
Michael Jordan? No, this is Mike Jones. Michael Jordan, Mike Jones, same thing, really.
So that shuts down the conversation straight away. Okay, let's not talk about politics. I actually wasn't talking about politics. I was talking about my last week when I was talking to people in Mariupol that were shot and murdered by Nazis who literally had SS tattoos.
It's just a bar to test them. Yeah, pretty much.
On their skin, who literally shot at civilians, babushkas,
Hey,
in their sights. They even heard it on the radio. Yeah, shoot civilians.
Michael Jackson mentioned? True, Michael Jackson.
More and more in the news today.
So this for you is not politics. This is real life.
His life. He's being persecuted by the woke left west that are genociding people. A hee type stream, indeed.
Exactly. And this is what my grandfather told me we fought and died for before.
Hey, Masaki. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Anyway, I got bored of that. Debate. Let's look up one of his debates. This guy's actually a very, I like how they, yeah. Oh, look at this cunt! Midwestern Marks. That's hilarious. I am being hard at work. Very cool. I'm glad you're doing well, buddy. Innuendo full intended. Oh, wow. Full intended? Based. Should have said that and then I'd get sued. Why? I look up this guy and then I get fucking infra has. Jesus. I hate this roundtable shit because it makes it seem like he's an intellectual. You notice how they you notice like one of the things that was really important with what he was talking about there was he was framing it from the context of this is his life and this is something that he has seen, right? As if he's framing it from that context to make it seem like I'm sending you on a tangent, but I got so many of these propagandas. Yeah, I know. But he's framing it from this position of I am speaking an objective truth, right? But that's not what he's doing. It is not an objective truth. What he is doing is lying, right? You know, it's like that, I know this is a shitty example to give, but it's like when Hassan was debating Andrew Tate, right? He was talking about how if you got bitten by a Dalmatian, from your perspective, you would not like Dalmatians anymore, and you would view them as being very violent animals. But then if I was to come up with a bunch of statistics on how pit bulls were more violent, you know, one is an objective truth that you can factually prove, and yeah, it was his identity, his culture being attacked. True. Anyway. What else are we looking up? Nazis in Ukraine. You know what? We need to look up. The clown is Russia. True? This shit. What's this title? Oh my god! Mega Megu Willow says hi. She's watching the stream with me. Hello, Willow. Willow, take a big shit on the floor. Good cat.
Nazification. Ever since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, this word has been
Maga Megu, actually. I'm kidding. Fuck that shit.
repeated endlessly in Russian propaganda as the central goal of the special military operation. It sounds absurd.
This guy sounds like second thought.
Ukraine's President
Pretty funny.
Zelensky is a Jew, and Nazism is seemingly nowhere to be seen in Ukrainian government, politics, or society. But Putin's crusade against Nazism rests upon the continued existence of a tiny section of the Ukrainian military, known as the Azov Regiment. One glance at their history makes it obvious why they earned the label. A militia formed by radical fascists and white supremacists operating under Nazi symbols, incredibly accused of abuses and outrages upon civilians and captives. But what is the truth behind Azov? How did it go from extremist militia to an official part of the Ukrainian military? And does it represent the rise of Nazism in Ukraine? Today, on A Day in History, we'll explore the history of the Azov regiments, its origins, foundation, military role, and transformation into the force currently fighting in Ukraine today. If that sounds interesting,
Masaki said the N-word. What the fuck, Masaki? Why would you do that? You're a moderator now.
to you, then feel free to leave a like on this video and check out our other content for more insightful historical topics. To understand Azov, we must begin with Ukraine's wider far-right movement. Like any nation, Ukrainian nationalism
You do. So next time Chinchilla talks shit, you time him out.
can attract extremist elements. In the early 2000s, this was represented by groups such as the Social National Party of Ukraine, SNPU, and its splinter group Patriot of Ukraine, PU. Some of these groups
PU? Oh, these guys stink. Apologize for that joke.
Groups espoused fascist.
I love Chinchilla. He's one of the goodest goobers. That one is a haiku bang. It was terrible.
And pro-Nazi views, invoked Nazi symbols, and made heroes out of Ukrainian Nazi collaborators. Andriy Biletsky, who was a prominent leader in the PU, allegedly declared that Ukraine's national mission should be to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against Semite-led Untermenschen. Race nationalism was a strong element of this ultra-nationalist far-right, and their language often echoed that of the Nazis. In another quote attributed to Biletsky, one can restore almost everything. The economy, order on the streets, demographics, a strong army and navy, nuclear weapons, but the only thing that cannot be restored is the purity of blood. This far-right movement was relatively small, with virtually no political representation, but it led to several instances of planned or actual violence. In 2011, Serhiy Bevs, Ihor Mosichuk, and Volodymyr Shpada of the far-right network Social National Assembly, SNA, which was itself a splinter of the PU, were jailed for a terror plot to destroy statues of Lenin in the so-called Vasilkiv terrorist plot. The attack on Lenin was telling. Anti-Soviet, if not anti-Russian feeling, is strong among the Ukrainian far-right. It was perfectly primed then to join the 2013 Euromaidan protests that erupted across Ukraine after President Viktor Yanukovych chose to shrug off ties with the West in favor of a closer relationship with Russia. The far-right comprised only a tiny part of the protests, but they grabbed headlines. On December 1, 2013, for example, members of the SNA and PU spearheaded a riotous attack on the Ukrainian Presidential Administration building that left 50 people in hospital. The Euromaidan protests led to the 2014 Revolution of Dignity that toppled Yanukovych's pro-Russian regime. Russia didn't take kindly to this, and in February launched an invasion of Crimea and funded a wave of pro-Russian separatist movements across eastern Ukraine, concentrated in the Donbass.
So it was technically redentalism, but that's basically racism, and that nuance is irrelevant, but Nazis will bring it up. I don't really care what Nazis have to say. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, these people are a small group of people, but they should also go fuck themselves and die. I don't care if they're anti-communist, like, they're just the same thing, right? Anyway, Donbass. In Roblox. Yes, in Roblox. This is a research stream, so I will be pausing to take notes and shit, okay? If you do not like that, suck it.
Bus.
Masaki is also a good goober. Not in Roblox, in real life. Oh my gosh. That is so cute.
The new government of Petro Poroshenko was still trying to pull itself together after ousting Yanukovych and was incapable of properly responding to Russian aggression. Enter the volunteer militias known as Dobrobati, dozens of which emerged to oppose the Russian invasion. Kyiv welcomed them. After all, if the Russians could fund irregulars, so could they. The volunteer militias came from a range of backgrounds, but several were far-right groups who took their existing ideology and organization to the battlefield. Chief among these was the Black Corps, led by Andriy Biletsky. They nicknamed themselves the Black Little Men, a nod to the Green Little Men of the pro-Russian separatists. Founded in March 2014, they joined the fight against Russia to compensate for the, quote, inaction of the authorities and the absolute sabotage of local power structures. The Black Corps made their first appearance fighting separatists in Kharkiv. Their intervention was violent, leading to several street battles and deaths, but they quickly drove down the pro-Russian elements there. Their success earned them support from the Ukrainian government and some popularity among the public, although the extremist nature of their politics was not widely known. Owing to their early successes, the Ukrainian government offered to incorporate the group into the Ukrainian
It's actually a good video.
military, offering them funding and arms in exchange for obedience to orders. The group agreed, and on May 5th in Berdansk on the coast of the Sea of Azov, it was officially renamed to the Azov Regiment and absorbed into the Ukrainian military structure. Biletsky was its official leader, but several right-wing figures were involved in its foundation, including the Vasilkiv terrorists Bevs, Mosichuk, and Shpara, who had been released months earlier by the new government. Azov's first objective was in Mariupol. The city was a prime target for Russia, and in April, pro-Russian separatists had seized the city council building. Azov was a key part of the First Battle of Mariupol. It was they who stormed the city council building using non-lethal chemical weapons to flush out the separatist militia and retake the building.
So they used tear gas.
For over a month, they participated in bitter street-to-street fighting alongside other volunteer militias and official Ukrainian forces before achieving victory in mid-June.
The presentation is like a COD cutscene, pretty much.
Azov had proven itself a formidable and reliable force on the battlefield. Afterwards, it remained in Mariupol to act as local security, doubling as cops and separatist hunters rooting out the last pro-Russian forces hiding in the city. Meanwhile, its fame exploded, making them popular among the Ukrainian public and military leadership, while earning them a grim reputation among the Russians. By late summer, Azov accrued almost 500 members. It was upgraded to a full regiment in September, and in October, its now 800-strong force was officially integrated into the National Guard of Ukraine. However, Azov's reputation was not unblemished. UN investigations identified several potential war crimes by Azov members that remain unaddressed by Ukrainian authorities to this day. In August and September 2014, Azov soldiers took a mentally disabled man into custody, where they beat and abused him for days on end. The man had to be hospitalized for his injuries.
Guys responsible for that should be in fucking prison.
For whatever reason, Azov claimed that he was a potential pro-Russian separatist. Such reprisals against alleged separatists were common. Through 2015 and 2016, dozens of homes belonging to alleged pro-Russians were looted or destroyed by Azov forces in the area around Mariupol. In January 2015, another Mariupol resident was illegally held by Azov on suspicion of being a Russian spy. Locked in a basement for over a week, he was hung painfully from metal poles, beaten, electrocuted, and waterboarded. Torture of prisoners was something of a pattern according to UN reports, which identified several instances of the practice and noted that evidence extracted through torture was used to condemn alleged pro-Russian Ukrainians. Azov captives were reportedly denied legal representation and even medical assistance during captivity. Azov's alleged crimes spoke to a sinister element of the group that Ukrainian authorities tried to downplay. However, there was no ignoring the fact that Azov had been created as an extremist group and carries the mark.
Something I just want to check real quick.
Of that extremism to this day. The group's logo is an obvious red flag. Supposedly, it represents a crossed N and I standing for national idea, or the ideal of unified Ukraine. It is also a mirror image of the Nazi Wolfsangel symbol, used by several divisions of the SS and several post-war fascist groups. The use of the swastika has also been known among the group, although it is not too common. Azov members have defended it, saying that the swastika was a symbol of peace long before it was an icon of the Nazis.
What are they, fucking retarded?
The swastika was indeed a peace symbol for thousands of years, and possibly had its origins in the ancient Indo-European or Aryan peoples. Descent from these ancient conquerors is a common trope of white supremacist and pagan ideologies. Another common Azov and white supremacist symbol, the black sun, also alludes to this ideology, representing the solar deity that these Aryans were supposed to have worshipped. The presence of these ideas is unsurprising, given the founders' own extreme right-wing views. Biletsky himself insisted that these right-wing views were integral to the Azov regiment, and most, if not all, Azov members subscribed.
Is that guy dead? I can't remember. Yeah, is that a swastika sword? Yeah. not dead. Founder of the currently serves as a brigadier, sorry, general and commander of Ukrainian Third Army Corps. Oh, he's still alive.
To them at the start. In 2015, one member insisted that at least half of Azov still held pro-Nazi views. That same member admitted that he was a Nazi, although he did not support the Holocaust. Azov's extremist views were a goldmine for Russian propaganda. Russian media was quick to portray the defenders of Mariupol entirely as Nazis, and Ukraine as a state in the thrall of Nazi sympathizers. This had been the Russian line on Ukraine for the last decade. However, to say Azov was representative of Ukraine is absurd. There were over 30 volunteer militias formed in 2014, and Azov wasn't even the largest of them, and its extremist views and political nature were very unusual compared to the other volunteers, not to mention to the actual military. With such a checkered past and radical views, Azov's continued existence in the Ukrainian military seems unbelievable. However, since its formation in 2014, Azov has changed significantly. Firstly, following integration into the military, Azov members were not allowed to participate in politics or stand for elections. This led several key figures, including Beletsky and Moisychuk, to leave it and pursue a political career. Beletsky formed the National Corps in 2016 to advance far-right politics and managed to secure a seat in the Ukrainian parliament. Moisychuk joined the...
There are some issues with the video, like the timeline is wrong, making the Azov look worse. But yes, the Azov is just a small part of the army. Yeah, you know, I don't imagine it was anything significant. Hang on, give me a second. I just need something to eat. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to mute my mic while I eat, okay? Bro's probably getting some kangaroo steak or something. I'm going to buy a kangaroo steak and I'm going to fucking eat it on stream just to mortify you. You piece of shit. Anyway.
Far-right radical party and also secured a seat in parliament, although both have since lost those seats. The National Corps has been described as part of a wider Azov movement of far-right politics in Ukraine, but its separation from the Azov regiment has only grown. In 2018, for example, the National Corps formed a new militia group called the National Druzhina. The Druzhina's mandate was essentially that of the old Azov volunteers: step up with force where the authorities failed, but targeted at crime and internal issues rather than fighting Russians. It was strongly condemned by the Ukrainian government, who insisted that all other paramilitary entities were illegal. Since 2018, the National Corps and the Druzhina have been linked to plenty of far-right activity in Ukraine and beyond. The party's representatives have appeared at conferences and events operated by far-right figures elsewhere in Europe. The group was also linked to attacks on Romani camps in summer of 2018, where men burned and smashed the camps to force the inhabitants to leave. It has also expressed opposition to LGBTQs and other policies and movements considered to be left-wing. However, one would fail to find the Azov Regiment involved in any of this. Today, the Azov Regiment is functionally a part of the Ukrainian military, subject to its authority, and disconnected from any of the political elements that once defined it. In 2022, Azov Regiment was composed of 3 entities: the Azov National Guard Battalion in Mariupol, the Azov
I don't believe they are, no.
Special Operations Battalion in Kyiv, and the Azov companies acting as reserves for various units. The first 2 numbered about 1,500 each. None of them had any official links to the National Corps or other groups in the so-called Azov movement. Their name and logo are the only obvious connections to their origins. As of 2022, none of the founders of the battalion are still involved with it. New leadership appointed by the Ukrainian military has swept out the extremist leaders, and the strict ban on political activism for service members has thoroughly severed the Azov Regiment from the political ideas of its founders. Its membership has grown to include Jews, Russians, Greeks, and other ethnicities, and its leaders insist that the Azov of today shares nothing with the original group, except its name and its capabilities on the battlefield. As we all know, Russia is far from convinced of this change, or at least it claims it isn't. Since the outset of the invasion, Putin has placed denazification at the center of his stated goals for invading Ukraine. President Zelensky is Jewish, and the National Corps achieved barely 2% of the vote in 2019's parliamentary elections. Clearly, there is no mass Nazi movement in Ukraine, nor does it control their government. Therefore, Russian propaganda has laser-focused on the Azov Regiment as proof of a vast Nazi conspiracy to justify their invasion. Azov has seen some of the most intense fighting in the war since 2022. Once again, it defended Mariupol from Russian aggression, but after almost 3 months of heavy fighting, Ukrainian forces lost the city. Russia accused Azov of various crimes there, although these have not been corroborated by any investigations. For example, on March 9th, Russia bombed a maternity hospital in the city, claiming that Azov fighters were using it as a base. No evidence of this has been presented, and the strike killed several civilians, including patients and medical workers. On March 16th, the Mariupol theater was destroyed by an explosion, killing an unknown number of civilians, at least 12, but some estimates claim as many as 600 refugees had been sheltered there. Russia claimed that Azov bombed the theater in order to blame it on Russia, but no evidence of this exists, and independent investigators determined.
Welcome back, Echo. Russia really loves bombing civilians, don't they, and blaming it on Ukraine.
Russia was responsible. On the other hand, videos emerged within days of the invasion showing Azov fighters coating their bullets in pig fat before doing battle with Chechen fighters. Since Chechens are mostly Muslim, the action was an intentionally sacrilegious act intended to defile their enemies. Full details on Azov's activities in the war are difficult to verify. The fog of war and the haze of propaganda make it hard to identify everything they've done. We at least know that Azov continues to be active, but has suffered significant casualties through death and capture. How Azov will fare as the war drags on, and what might happen to it after, is impossible to say. Still, Azov poses an interesting case study for anyone interested in current or historical affairs. This tiny group of no more than a few thousand people throughout its history has been thrown into prominence by propaganda on both sides. Ukraine, Russia, and their supporters have advanced different images of Azov, selecting and omitting information to control the narrative about the war. Russia's narrative correctly identifies the origins of the group and the history behind their symbols, but falsely suggests it represents a larger Ukraine Nazi phenomenon, and ignores that the military group and its political elements have been separated for years. Support for the National Corps is also vanishingly small. In 2019, it secured just 18 of Ukraine's 43,122 local council seats, and none of its parliamentary ones. Russia has used its exaggerations and distortions of Azov's nature to justify.
By the way, the Chechen leader is dying, so Russia will have... Okay! Stop overwhelming me with information. Okay? Because then I'm just going to look it up and it's just like, I need to focus on specific things, all right? I'll look into all that shit another time. Bruh, you keep going, by the way, this thing. By the way, this thing. And it's just like, my brain's going to go, I need to look into that. That sounds interesting. Stop it. Yamate. I am focusing on very clearly. What was it again? The Euromaidan, the genocide of the Donbass, the biolabs, the Nazis, and then I also wanted to focus on MH17 because you better be fucking sorry. You keep it up, I'll give you fucking moderator, bitch. But yeah, there's just like, I have to be careful, man. It's like there was a big problem with that last video I did because it was so long, but it was so easy to just get down these rabbit holes. That video could have been 4 hours long because it's like impossible not to like, I'm burping a lot because it's just like I'm full of food now. That was the first time I've eaten today and it's like 10 p.m. Jesus. It was a really good video. Thank you. Not a moderator. Yep, not even a moderator. But yeah, don't forget to eat. I mean, I've been forgetting to eat, man. And it's been a whole thing. My boss told me that I haven't been at work for 3 weeks, and I was like, oh my god, it's been 3 weeks? Oh no! Oh, dude, I just got really tired. Tell him you're the boss now. True. Nah, my boss has been really understanding. Obviously, you know, no surprise, I've been going through a lot of stuff lately. And yeah, you know, it's been nice to have a very supportive employer, you know, that's willing to bend over backwards to accommodate me. You know, very happy. Best boss I've ever had in my whole life, to be honest. Yeah. But anyway. I'm doing a lot better now. It's just more of like I'm completely out of whack and not sleeping properly and not eating properly. It's just like, yeah, it's a whole thing, but I'll be all right. You know? It is what it is.
A war that has dragged on for more than 2 years and claimed tens of thousands of lives. Meanwhile, Ukraine and its Western allies
You'll be here to support you? To support me? Thank you, man. You're a fucking legend.
write off Russia's accusations of Nazism as Kremlin propaganda and throw their support behind Azov as an ordinary military unit, while quietly trying to shove its illicit origins under the rug.
We're all here for you. No? Hey, look. Hang on. I gotta do it right. There we go. I gave a heart to you all. Do you like my shirt? This is like my favorite shirt. It's got a tiger on it. It's very cool.
Ever since the Euromaidan protests, Western authorities have often taken a head-in-the-sand approach to Azov and right-wing extremism in Ukraine, even when confronted with evidence of the group's darker associations.
It's swag, thank you.
Neither Russia nor Western media or intelligence officials have the best reputation for honesty or transparency. Everyone involved has their own reason to distort what Azov is or was. Until enough time has passed for emotions to cool and evidence to be sorted, we can only try to understand Azov based on what we have. It was certainly a far-right Nazi organization when it began, but it is certainly not the same group now as it was then. However, history will be written by the victor. Azov will go down in history either as loyal defenders of Ukraine or as fighters devoted to a rancid, hate-filled ideology. With no
I mean, they can be both, right? They very much like, this is the problem with history, right? that people don't understand that things can be complicated and people can be that are capable of good things can be also capable of horrific shit. Like, no, it's either you're a villain or a hero. I was like, depends on the day, man. Like, Israel can be the worst people on the fucking earth right now, but give them 10, 20 years, all of a sudden they're the heroes of Gaza or some shit, you know? You never know how things can change with history. You know?
No end for the war in sight, it will be a while before we find out which is the case. Until then, you might want to learn more about history by checking out other videos on the channel.
You know what, buddy? I appreciate the effort. I'm giving that guy a sub. He did a lot of work there. That was really nice. He's very articulate. And it was nice. It was a good video. Jesus. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain / reference. True. Pretty much. Like if Israel had have just like, what's this? Russia was communist and bad, took over the half of Europe in World War II, but still better than the Nazis. Are you sure about that? I don't know if I would say. I think a lot of what the Soviet Union is whitewashed a little bit. I think people underplay a lot of the horrible shit that they did. Like, you would be hard struck to say that the Holodomor was not as bad as the Holocaust. Like, that was pretty horrific and awful. Like, deliberately mass starving like 20 million people to death, that was fucking disgusting. I think it's just because Russia has a little bit better propaganda still, right? Well, the Soviet Union does and communists do, right? The ideology is still very, like, popular, right? I mean, think about it. Like, communism, you had the millions of people that died because of the, it is whitewashed, but the Nazis were worse. Well, I mean, okay, so the Nazis, right? I think the Nazis in a shorter time span were worse, but overall, communism's probably killed more people than what Hitler did and then the Nazis in Germany. Like, you have to remember, as an ideology, like, it's spread throughout multiple different countries, right? Like, you had the amount of people that were killed throughout all of the Soviet Union. I was more commenting on the fact things are grey and not white or black. Okay, no worries. Sorry, I'm being a little bit brain damaged on my part. I really want to watch a documentary on the Euromaidan. Is there a good documentary? No, I can't be bothered spelling. Jesus. How long's that? It's only 30 minutes. I need big doco. Okay, I think I am going to be watching this. Of course, I don't want you to drop into another rabbit hole, but yes, Mao probably killed 55 million people. I think it's pretty safe to say that he was responsible for what he did. Jesus. Oh, this dude.
Today's video is sponsored.
Today's video is sponsored by Israel and their fight against Islamic extremism.
In December 1991, the world's collective jaw dropped when the Soviet Union officially dissolved after 70 years of dominance. The famous red flag with a hammer and sickle was lowered for the final time over the Kremlin, replaced by the flag of the Russian Federation. With this collapse, 15 countries gained their independence, suddenly able to govern themselves for the first time in generations. But there was a lot of problems to iron out first. Ukraine had been the second most powerful Soviet republic, with large industrial complexes and military installations, and when the USSR fell apart, Ukraine was left with a lot of Soviet weaponry just lying around. Most notably, they had inherited a staggering 1,700 nuclear warheads, over 100 of which were capable of being launched on intercontinental ballistic missiles. In 1994, Ukraine agreed to dismantle its nuclear arsenal and join the NPT.
I'm going to be 100% fucking real here. This is like, why does Ukraine not get enough credit for this? Like, when I think about it, like, they really are like probably one of the only countries on the planet to just go, we're going to give up our fucking nukes. That's so unbelievable to me. Like, think of it, like, how many countries have actually done that? Four countries have dismantled nuclear weapons they possessed, which is South Africa, Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. But Belarus is hosting Russian nukes, so they functionally still have nuclear weapons. I don't know about South Africa, or Kazakhstan. Secretly constructed 6 gun-type uranium bombs before dismantling them in 1990 to facilitate the transition to a... Okay, cool. And I imagine Kazakhstan did the same thing. 1991, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Kazakhstan inherited the world's 4th largest nuclear arsenal, but chose to voluntarily return all warheads to Russia and dismantle its remaining infrastructure by 1995. To maintain nukes is actually expensive. It's why they think Russia didn't fire any at Ukraine, because they might not work. I mean, look, they don't need all of them, right? They just need a few. Having thousands of nukes is completely pointless, but having maybe a few would be perfectly legitimate, right? Enough to hurt people.
Aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons. In agreement with the treaty, Ukraine pledged to never construct new nuclear bombs and to only use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. In tandem with the nuclear treaty, Ukraine also signed the Budapest Memorandum. The Budapest Memorandum was a security assurance signed by Ukraine, Russia, Britain, and the United States. It was an agreement by all 4 countries to recognize and protect the sovereignty of Ukraine, giving the country the protection it needed to safely give up its newly acquired weapons of mass destruction. Giving Ukraine security in exchange for destroying its nukes was in everyone's best interests at the time. The United States and Britain were concerned about potential misuse of the weapons. Russia feared that they could be the target of such weapons, and Ukraine didn't have the budget to properly maintain them, so these agreements benefited just about every party involved at the time. Now let's jump forward to the 21st century, where the story really starts to get spicy. Ukraine, like many other ex-USSR states, was still rife with political corruption, and the 2004 presidential election would prove no different. After the first round, the election was narrowed
Sorry, my
down
nose
to
is running from all the cocaine I snort.
candidates. Viktor Yanukovych, who, to put it simply, wanted to strengthen ties with Russia, and Viktor Yushchenko, who wanted to strengthen ties with the West. In the months leading up to the polls, Yushchenko was mysteriously poisoned with tea BCDD toxin, a herbicide that is also found in the infamous Agent Orange that the US used in Vietnam. Yushchenko survived the assassination attempt, but his health had been seriously impacted, and his face even remains disfigured to this day. After the second round of votes were counted in November, it was announced that Viktor Yanukovych had won, but it was a suspicious victory. The number of votes between the two rounds had drastic changes in certain districts, such as a double or triple increase in votes. And there was also widespread reports of intimidation at the polls by local authorities, threatening to take away government pensions if voters didn't choose Yanukovych, and there were also reports of widespread corruption among the vote counters. Vladimir Putin had even congratulated Yanukovych before his victory was even declared. The European Union stated that they would not recognize the election as legitimate due to the...
Which is done deliberately. I knew it. Him and Destiny doing drugs together. Mate, I don't do drugs, but if Destiny came up to me tomorrow and said, listen, you need to do drugs with me, immediately I would do heroin with that guy. I would do crocodile with that guy, you know? You don't pass up an opportunity like that, you know?
Suspected.
I'm not parasocial and I'm not insane. Don't you fucking judge me.
Fraud, while Russia said that they supported Ukraine's new president. Once word of the fraud got out to the public, it sparked mass outrage, and thousands of Ukrainian citizens took to the streets in huge protests, a period that later became known as the Orange Revolution. The largest of these protests, which took place in Kiev's Independence Square, boasted more than 500,000 total participants over the weeks. In total, it's estimated that 19% of Ukraine's entire population had been a part of the Orange Revolution. And the most surprising part is that it actually worked. After a month of public outcry, Ukraine's parliament nullified the second round results and announced an election rerun. This time around, the world was watching carefully, and once the votes were counted, the original decision was overturned. Yushchenko, still recovering from his poisoning, was declared the new winner with 52% of the vote. Yanukovych had only 44% and conceded defeat, democracy having prevailed again. The Orange Revolution, despite its historic size, had remained entirely peaceful, with no protesters and no police officers being injured or killed throughout the entire month of protests. But unfortunately, this was not going to be Ukraine's last huge protest, and the next one wouldn't end so peacefully. The defeated candidate, Yanukovych, tried his luck again in the 2010 elections, and this time he actually won fair and square too. In Ukraine's eternal tug-of-war between Russia and the West, this victory was seen as a big step in Russia's direction, as Yanukovych pledged to create closer ties with Putin. But this didn't exactly represent the desire of the population of Ukraine, something that became rather quickly apparent. Just a few years into his presidency, Yanukovych suddenly decided to not sign the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, a plan that would slowly bring Ukraine's economy, legal and social systems closer to the European Union, and hopefully pave a way for Ukraine's eventual membership in the EU. Despite Parliament voting overwhelmingly in support of the agreement, he cancelled the signing at the last minute and announced that instead he intended to join the Customs Union of Russia, a similar agreement, but with Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. Most of the public were once again outraged and took to the streets to protest. After the Orange Revolution, the people...
Good morning, Stumbling. How are you? Good to see you.
...knew that they had the power to force change in their government, and they were determined to do so again. Thousands of people once again filled Kiev's Independence Square, setting up roadblocks, kitchens, first aid camps, and they settled in for the long haul. The protesters demanded the resignation of Yanukovych and the restoration of the EU agreement, but this time, the government cracked down on the protests. On November the 20th, 2013, the demonstration, which up to that point had been fairly peaceful, escalated into a violent riot. Police began using water cannons and firing rubber bullets into the crowds, and the people started fighting back and setting fires. Ultimately, the protesters were dispersed from the square, but they reorganized and came back week after week. Each time they gathered, the clashes between police and protesters became more and more violent, and by mid-January 2014,
why is he talking like this? Oh my god.
There were several deaths during...
They become more violent. Like fucking hell, dude.
Came back week after week. Each time they gathered, the clashes between police and protesters became more and more violent, and by...
Violent? Like fuck me, dude. You're doing well? I am glad you're doing well. Don't laugh at me, Masaki.
By mid-January 2014,
it's because
there
he's
were several
bold, true.
deaths during each protest. Shockingly, among the dead, some bullet wounds were identified as being fired from a Dragunov sniper rifle. These incidents were isolated, but soon became commonplace when Internal Affairs Minister Vitaly Zakharchenko announced that he had authorized the use of live rounds to be used on protesters. After this announcement,
Vitaly Zakharchenko. That is a name I need to remember. He always talks like that. Yeah, I know, but it just triggers me. I get triggered easily. I don't know if you know this. Vitaly Zakharchenko.
February became the most violent period yet. In a week known as the Revolution of Dignity, as many as 50,000 protesters gathered and marched toward Parliament. They were confronted by the Birkut Special Police, and violence erupted like never before. Protesters fought with bats and threw Molotov cocktails, and the police fired on them with snipers and automatic weapons. Shielded phalanxes were overrun by the crowds, and the protesters even set off makeshift bombs. By February 22nd, the protesters had taken control of most of the
British, I'm pretty sure. Sounds like he's from Bloody Britain. Rest in peace to those that passed away. I remember my high school's history teacher talking about the initial spark between Russia and Ukraine. He's a smart man. He missed the important bit about US involvement. See, this is why we need to do the video stumbling.
the city, and President Yanukovych had fled the capital. At the end of the revolution, 108 protesters were dead, 1,900 were injured, and 300 were missing. Following the president's disappearance, Parliament voted a sweeping 300.
The police hired thugs. Yes, I remember that, actually. Give me a second. Giving me more to look up. The CIA snipers on the roof. Yeah, that's what we need to... I need to focus on debunking pretty hardcore.
28-0 to impeach him, but he was long gone. Yanukovych soon resurfaced
True,
in
they're
Russia, claiming
involved
that he
by
was overthrown
existing.
in a manner resembling the rise of the Nazi Party. He asserted that he was still the acting president, and several prominent figures from eastern Ukraine voiced their support for both him and Russia. Soon after, supporters of Yanukovych stormed the administrative centers.
Maybe interview Anna for this. She would love it. I think she should be interviewed by people with bigger platforms than me. Being realistic. You know? When we get to 1,000 subs, I'll do that.
Of the eastern cities of Donetsk and Luhansk, raising Russian flags over them. Now, up to this point, Putin hadn't directly intervened. He'd only voiced his political support for Yanukovych. However, that changed in late February 2014, when Putin held a meeting with his advisors, saying at the end, we must start working on returning Crimea to Russia. Taking advantage of the chaos in Ukraine, Russia...
She was involved in Euromaidan? I didn't know that. I knew that she was, obviously that she's Ukrainian and she's very politically vocal. I didn't know she went that far. That's crazy. She's so based.
Russian special forces quietly moved into Crimea. These soldiers weren't wearing any identifying markers, only a green uniform, earning them the nickname Zeleny Cholovichki, or the Little Green Men, amid both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian
I mean, if you and Stumbling put effort into it, it would be good, but you could use her interview in a video. She'd probably be down for it. I'll hit her up on Twitter or something. See what she's. I think her DMs are open. Let me check. Can someone please tell me who Anna is? She is a Ukrainian woman who is very popular within like the whole Ukrainian discourse, like, you know, countering a lot of the Russian talking points. See. She is got If not, I can probably ask food shops. I think she's pretty good friends with Anna. Or at least, like, work-wise. Oh, she's actually just on the Discord. I think. Maybe she left. Foods has interviewed her previously, but I don't know about good friends. Yeah, sorry. I'm just like, everyone's a friend to me. I'm just like, yeah, they're friends. They've spoken, yeah. Doesn't look like she's on the Discord. Geez, how am I supposed to do this? Dude, Discord's a pain in the ass sometimes. There we go. Now I figured it out. Okay, cool. I'm very dumb. Ukrainian. Kiev. So basically the front line, she is a Ukrainian that does speak Russian, but isn't Russian. She's from Ukraine. Ukrainian speaking. Oh, Ukrainian speaking Russian or Russian speaking Ukrainian? Anyway. Maybe. Actually, you know what? I'll hold off on that. I won't message her just now. Because she'll probably actually have a bunch of questions and shit to talk about first. You know what I mean? Anyway, back to the video.
Protests taking place
Sorry,
across
guys.
Crimea. The little green men captured
Thank
key
you.
checkpoints
Oh,
in the region.
by the way, thank you, Chinchilla, for the suggestion. It was a good suggestion.
Cut off roads to mainland Ukraine and raised the Russian flag over parliament. Literally within hours, Crimea was completely isolated from Ukraine, and even its TV channels were severed and replaced with Russian media. Soon,
She is from Ukraine speaking Russian. Yeah, so she's a Russian speaking Ukrainian. Not Okay. Don't worry.
Putin received authorization for the full use of the military. Helicopters and armored vehicles
Okay,
quickly arrived.
Yeah, it's just, it started with Russian speaking Ukrainian, and then it went back the other way and said Ukrainian speaking Russian. You know what I mean?
And
Sorry,
any
just
remaining
my
Ukrainian troops were instantly besieged and hopelessly outnumbered. After a month, all Ukrainian forces had surrendered or been captured, and Crimea was completely under Russian control. There wasn't even any shooting. Russia stormed in so quickly that they took the entire peninsula before Ukraine had even a second to respond. With Crimea out of the way, Putin turned his eyes towards his next goal, the growing unrest in eastern Ukraine. Alright, we'll get back to today's video in just a minute, but first, a quick word from today's video sponsor. Right now, you guys can purchase 83% off the cost of a member access. And now back to today's video.
Wait, what was that?
Some private internet access. And now back to today's. Just go to privateinternetaccess.com.
I could have sworn there was something in the middle here. Maybe I'm tripping out.
The Yanukovych supporters
It's okay.
that had stormed administration buildings in the eastern part of the country were quickly removed by Ukrainian security forces, but they had succeeded in starting a movement. To understand how this movement evolved into a separatist war, it's crucial to understand the political divide in Ukraine. Put simply, the country has long been politically divided between those who wanted to move closer to the west and those who wanted to be closer to Russia. In general, those who live in western Ukraine are far more in favour of the EU and NATO, while those in the Far East were more in favour of closer ties with Russia, though, of course, there are exceptions. In addition to geography, age also plays a big role in preference. For example, younger Ukrainians are far more likely to support ties with Europe. However, these are merely political preferences. Ukraine was still united in the idea that it should remain an independent sovereign nation. Well, that is apart from a select few groups, and these few now had the perfect chance to fight for their cause amid the riots and changes in presidency. Soon there were two major groups claiming the right to leave Ukraine and join Russia: the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic, or the DPR and the LPR. These groups had the collective aim of liberating the Donbass, the eastern portion of Ukraine that borders Russia. Putin publicly voiced his support for these republics, referred to their combined region as Novorossiya or New Russia, and began supplying them with automatic weapons and explosives. On April the 12th, 2014, the separatists made their first moves and once again captured administrative buildings in dozens of cities and towns in eastern Ukraine. They raided police armories and were in possession of hundreds of guns and were handing them out to anyone willing to fight for them. In response, the Ukrainian government organized the Anti-Terrorist Operation, or ATO, and dispatched police and military to recapture the cities, the first of which was Sloviansk. The separatists in Sloviansk were given an ultimatum: retreat from the city within 48 hours or be attacked. When they refused to budge, the Ukrainian forces began encircling the city. Soon gunfire was breaking out on the outskirts, and the DPR threatened to turn Sloviansk into Stalingrad if Ukrainian troops entered the city. An American journalist from Vice News was captured and held hostage, and there were reports that the militia was extorting shop owners for protection money and stealing cars when they could. The situation was quickly deteriorating. On May the 2nd, a Ukrainian force of 15,000 men launched an all-out offensive to retake the city. There were reports of gunfire, mortar, and even attack helicopters over Sloviansk. This sounds like plenty to take out a group of separatists, but here's where it started to become clear that the rebels were a lot more heavily armored than previously thought. They suddenly retaliated with several armored vehicles and shot down multiple helicopters with Russian-supplied anti-air rockets. After several weeks of fighting, the separatists were overwhelmed and fled the city, retreating to Donetsk. Around 50 separatists had been killed at Sloviansk, and the Ukrainian military had around 90 casualties. After this, the Ukrainian military went on to defeat separatists in several skirmishes. They kicked the rebels out of Kramatorsk, recaptured the Donetsk International Airport, and regained complete control of the southern city of Mariupol. But the rebels still held huge...
Yeah, so prior to 2022, the idea was that Ukraine should associate more with Europe to balance between Russia and the European Union. Turkey did that, so Ukraine thought they could do the same. Yeah, well, Vladimir Putin said no.
Swaths of territory in several cities, and despite the early Ukrainian victories, the numbers of separatists continued to grow every day. It was also becoming obvious that not all of the rebels were even Ukrainian. Captured separatists were often found to be Russian, Serbian, Chechen, or even South Ossetian breakaway.
Hang on, I gotta make a note. Make me think of something.
Republic in Georgia. This was no longer just an insurgency. It was now a battle with foreign mercenaries. Ukraine decided that in order to effectively quell the rebellion, they needed to cut off the supply lines being delivered from Russia through the Shetarsk Rayon. If Ukraine could sever these supply routes, they would certainly be able to defeat the remaining forces with superior firepower. The battle for the supply routes began in the summer of 2014, spread over a huge area, with the most intense fighting being focused on a strategically important hill overlooking the region. This was the largest scale conflict in the war so far, with Ukrainian jets even being involved in bombing runs, several of which were shot down by rebel anti-air rockets. The rebels were the most equipped yet and had several tanks on the scene. Then, in the heat of the battle, tragedy struck. On July the 17th, Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 departed from Amsterdam heading for Kuala Lumpur. While flying over eastern Ukraine, the passenger jet was struck with a missile, destroying the plane and killing all 298 people on board.
The Russians posing with the wreckage of Malaysian Airlines MH17. Does that seem like a very appropriate thing to do after you shoot down a fucking plane full of people? Like, it's disgusting. And they looted all of their shit.
When it crashed, a Dutch investigation team found that the rocket had been fired from a Buk surface-to-air missile system belonging to the 53rd Anti-Air Brigade of the Russian Federation. The system in question had been delivered to the battle that same day and returned to Russia after firing. This was the only type of missile in the region with the capabilities to reach the altitude of that passenger jet, and with the vehicle operating on its own, it would have trouble distinguishing friend from foe. The Russian government, of course, denied any involvement and vetoed an international tribunal at the UN Security Council. The battle for Shetarsk Rayon raged on, and just when it seemed that the Ukrainian army had the upper hand, the separatists launched a counter-offensive, taking back any lost land, capturing the strategic hill, and pushing forward. In the coming weeks, Ukraine slowly retreated, fighting through the woods until being forced to fall back and admit defeat for now. By mid-August, through a series of victories and defeats, the Ukrainian government had made immense progress in taking back territory from the insurgents. At this point, they were even making plans to retake their border checkpoints, which were some of the most heavily fortified separatist positions. Faced with the likelihood of a complete Ukrainian victory, the leader of the DPR, Igor Girkin, personally addressed Vladimir Putin and asked for stronger support, saying, "Losing this war on the territory that President Vladimir Putin personally named New Russia would threaten the Kremlin's power and personally the power of the president." This must have struck a nerve, because there were much higher numbers of standard Russian troops and vehicles being spotted inside Ukraine's borders. Of course, Russia still denied this, even when faced with direct evidence. At one point, a group of Russian paratroopers was captured, and when the Ukrainian government released photos of them and their documents, Russia stated that the men had crossed the border by accident. On August the 7th, Ukrainian soldiers began their assault at the city of Lovaisk. After a couple of weeks, they reported that they had complete control, but this was disputed by the DPR, and indeed shootouts in the streets were happening every hour of the day. Neither side could get the edge in the fighting, and urban warfare continued for 3 whole weeks, until the city was completely encircled by a massive number of both separatist and Russian forces. After a Ukrainian attempt to rescue the trapped troops ended in a failure, the siege turned into a textbook artillery barrage, and hundreds of Ukrainian casualties mounted up as buildings were leveled one after another. By the end, the Ukrainian forces were almost entirely wiped out, and the separatists took control of the city. Ukraine had suffered around 1,000 casualties, while the rebels and Russians had around 850. It was such a terrible loss for the Ukrainian military that the defense minister soon resigned due to his failure to coordinate a proper response during the siege. The defeat here is regarded as one of the big motivations for Ukraine to push even harder for peaceful negotiations with Russia and the separatists, and eventually this led to the signing of the Minsk Agreements on September the 5th. The Minsk Agreements were signed by representatives from Ukraine, Russia, and both separatist republics. It wasn't a complete treaty, keep in mind that no side was entirely surrendering, but instead, a line was drawn between the two forces, creating a 15-kilometer-wide demilitarized border zone. The important parts of the agreements include both sides adhering to an immediate ceasefire and withdrawing their artillery from the region. The republics were to be granted a higher level of independence, and all foreign mercenaries were to leave the country at once. Dialogue and
Yeah, the Dutch were crazy, and the Russians didn't do anything. It was the Ukrainians. There was no justice for the Dutch citizen. I don't know what you're talking about.
Negotiations should continue, and humanitarian convoys should be allowed into the conflict regions. On paper, this sounds like a great compromise to de-escalate the situation, but there was a major flaw with the Minsk agreements. They did absolutely nothing. The problem with the compromise was that it relied on both sides simultaneously stepping down, but neither side made a move. Ukraine said that they didn't feel safe removing their armies and heavy weapons from the region while there were still foreign mercenaries in the country, and the Republic said that the foreign mercenaries wouldn't leave until they had their autonomy. So essentially, everything was back to where it started before the negotiations, and of course the fighting resumed soon after. One of the first major battles to erupt during the so-called ceasefire was at the Donetsk airport. The airport lay just on the edge of the border drawn up by the Minsk agreements and was the only part of Donetsk still under Ukrainian control. On September the 28th, the separatists started a renewed offensive to take back the airport from the government. This began with huge artillery and rocket bombardment using several BM-21 Grad missile rocket launcher systems. The Ukrainian forces responded with mortar fire, and the shelling continued to shake the airport for days. Amid the artillery exchange, a bus stop in Donetsk was hit with a rogue bomb, killing 10 civilians. An investigation concluded that it was impossible to tell who was responsible, as both sides of the battle were shooting in basically every direction. As the days wore on, DPR forces moved closer and closer to the airport until the remaining Ukrainian soldiers were forced into a siege inside the main terminals. Russian supply tanks were arriving, and while 2 of them were soon destroyed, there were many more turning their guns on the main buildings. The separatists made repeated attempts to push into the airport, but each time they were repelled and shelled the area between each attempt. After an entire month of siege, the Ukrainian forces announced that the DPR had accessed the tunnel system into the basements, opening yet another point of attack. By late October, the airport was almost unrecognizable. Everything was blackened from the unending explosions. The runway was ripped up and covered in destroyed vehicles, and according to the Los Angeles Times, every pane of glass had shattered, every door, wall, and ceiling had been pierced with bullets and shrapnel. But despite the onslaught, the main airport terminal and the control tower still remained under Ukrainian control. At one point, an intercepted radio communication of the DPR revealed their frustration with the seemingly impossible siege, and one of them famously said that there were some kind of cyborg sitting in there. The Ukrainian media picked this up, and soon everyone was referring to the airport defenders as cyborgs, somehow able to fend off.
What is wrong with Russians? Ukrainian super soldiers, fucking cyborgs. It's crazy. It's so crazy how stuff gets mixed up in propaganda. But the airplane crash got blamed on Ukraine while Russia fired the Buk rocket, and somehow the Dutch were at fault according to the Russians. How were they at fault? Weren't the Dutch the investigators?
The attacks day after day while wounded and running on minimal sleep. But cyborgs or not,
Chinchilla, you need to actually stop. Yeah, of course. And Australians died too. Like, yeah. Anyway, you need to stop. Okay? Stop it. I don't know what you're talking about. You're like saying that the Dutch got the blame, and I was like, who was blaming the Dutch? Where is, like, just stop it. I'm not even looking at MH17 right now.
they were incredibly outnumbered, and the brutal siege began to take its toll on them. By this point, Putin had announced that he would be sending humanitarian convoys into Ukraine, which were arriving daily, columns of trucks loaded with more weapons and ammunition. Ukraine called this evidence of a direct invasion, but Russia once again affirmed that it was merely helping an oppressed population of Russian speakers to defend themselves from a government genocide, a justification that doesn't really hold up to scrutiny when you see that nearly a third of Ukraine considers Russian their native tongue. Even Ukraine's current president, Volodymyr Zelensky, grew up speaking Russian in his home. Back at the Donetsk airport, the siege lasted until January 2015, when after a massive firefight, the separatists entered the main terminal. This time, they set off timed explosives, destroying floors and slowly removing any cover that the Ukrainians had left. Eventually, Ukrainian forces retreated after the main tower was destroyed and the main terminal was overrun. Exact casualty numbers aren't known, but it's estimated that hundreds were killed on both sides and 2,000 people were injured. Dozens of tanks were destroyed. Before and after photos illustrate just how intense the battle was. The buildings that were once shining glass are now just nothing but charred concrete skeletons. By February 2015, the fighting still raged on in several cities, and it was clear that the Minsk agreements hadn't done anything to solve the problem. A new ceasefire.
I am a propaganda master, so this is crack cocaine for me. I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. You're like telling me like, and somehow Dutch were at fault, and then you don't tell me how they were at fault. Anyway.
Was written up, nicknamed Minsk II, but it suffered from a lot of the faults of the first treaty, and just like the first version, it didn't really have much of an impact on the battlefield. The number of Russian citizens joining the fight continued to increase throughout 2015. The Russian government still denied that their military was directly involved, but recruitment for volunteers was done openly in public. Russian soldiers, police officers, and firefighters were encouraged to join up, and depending on relevant experience, a volunteer fighter in Donbass could earn between 60 and 240,000 rubles per month, or between $1,000 and $4,000 at the time. The UK estimated that by mid-2015, 42,000 regular Russian combat troops had fought in Ukraine. By 2016, though, the front line had essentially reached a stalemate. Fighting continued sporadically every few weeks for the next several years, with flare-ups in artillery and the occasional sniper engagement. By 2021, the number of soldiers killed was estimated to be 4,600 Ukrainians, 5,800 separatists, and 500 Russians. On the civilian side, the deaths in the conflict zone numbered about 3,400, not including those on Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. In addition to the casualties, eastern Ukraine had now become one of the most heavily mined areas on Earth, and 172 children were injured or killed due to accidental explosions in the 8 years after the war began. The situation in the conflict zone was also as politically messy as ever. In the parts of Donbass that were controlled by Ukraine, a vast majority wanted the republics to remain part of the country, but in the separatist-controlled regions, as much as 50% wanted complete independence. But one of the most devastating aspects of the war
I have timeout privileges. Don't test me. True. No, it's okay. You don't have to okay. The moderator thing is more of a meme. You don't have to time anyone out, okay? Only time people out if they say spicy words. If they argue with me, it's fine. They were at fault because they did the investigation. It's stupid like that. Okay. Well, I choose to believe Russia's to blame. You know, I have no evidence, except all of it, but...
Separatists repeatedly accused Ukrainian forces of targeting residential areas, and Ukraine in return accused the separatists of firing their artillery from such places, making collateral damage inevitable. There were so many buildings destroyed that by 2022, even before the full invasion began,
my bad.
there were already nearly
but
2
also,
million
but also is serious. It is serious, Chinchilla. You should be scared.
Ukrainians that have been internally displaced due to the conflict, many of which have now been forced to flee their homes for a second time.
Spicy words. Well, I mean, you know, I just don't want yous to do anything crazy, okay? Don't get me in trouble. I don't even have a fucking career to lose yet.
For the 8 years that the fighting continued,
You know?
the world
Yet being the key word. Global dominance of the Ossad.
watched and hoped that the combat would simply fizzle out. After all, something similar
Where is my fucking Israel money? That's the real question.
had happened in both Georgia and Moldova, with pro-Russian breakaway republics fighting their government, and in both those cases, the fighting had all but ended after a few years. Unfortunately, in Ukraine's case, the separatist movements were only the first act of the deadly play, and Putin was planning something much bigger.
Okay, cool. That was a good video. This guy's, like, he makes great videos. It's just... No flirting in the chat, guys, Meku said. True. Misaki, you're still there? Okay, now what? It's okay, I forgive you. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Should we take? Didn't have anything? No, I don't have anything for that topic. Okay, we're running out of things to look at. I mean, that was pretty good. I need to look at more documents. So you guys get to listen to me read. How's that sound? Masaki is on my watch list. Just watching him. Okay, do I even really want to read? Yeah, let's just read it. It's not that long. Okay, let me put on some music while I read this, okay? So people don't get bored to death. Okay, I will do as you could check in on Andrew Tate. Saw something about him being arrested. Wait, really? Oh my god, I need to look at that. That's crazy. Hang on. Oh, yes. Let's go. Fuck this guy. All right. All right. Andrew and Tristan Tate arrested in US on UK rape and sex trafficking charges. Britain seeks extradition over charges including rape, sex trafficking for sexual exploitation, and offences relating to extreme pornography. Was it really? I'll have to look that up too. Settle down, Echo. Anyway, now everyone settle. The controversial influencer brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate, have been arrested in the US as part of a UK police investigation into a number of alleged sexual offences. The Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, someone called CPS on them. Said it was bringing further charges in relation to 4 further individuals and had requested the 2 men's extradition. The brothers, who are dual British US citizens, were arrested in Miami on Saturday. Trump's gonna fucking protect them. If he does, I'm gonna laugh so hard. Andrew Tate, 39, is charged with 7 further counts of rape. Oh my god! What is wrong with these guys? 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 counts of sexual occasioning actual bodily harm, and 19 additional charges for offences relating to indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. It was Ethan Klein, damn. Tristan Tate, 38, is charged with 1 further count of sexual assault, 2 counts of rape, and 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation. The CPS said the 38 additional charges, in addition to the 21 already brought, relate to alleged offences between July 2010 and August 2017. The head of the CPS Special Crime Division, Malcolm McHaffey, like the fucking antivirus software, said these charging decisions followed receipt of a further file of evidence from Bedfordshire. So they had more evidence come in. Bedfordshire police, and bring the total number of alleged victims in this case to 7. US Marshals confirmed to the BBC that the Tates had been taken into custody, and a US Department of Justice spokesperson said the arrests were pursuant to extradition proceedings. Matt Jury, a lawyer who what's this? Their Pokédex got filled with rape crimes. What is wrong with you? Matt Jury, a lawyer who represents 4 alleged British victims of Andrew Tate, said Andrew Tate is now facing the real prospect of extradition to the UK after years of public campaigning by the 4 British women I represent. They have spent years fighting for action to be taken, and I now urge the authorities to ensure this case proceeds as quickly as possible. It should, because these guys are fucking dangerous. Andrew and Tristan Tate are accused of some of the most serious offences, including multiple counts of rape and human trafficking. It is time they face justice. Gotta catch them all. Shut up. Joseph McBride, a lawyer for the brothers, said the latest charges were designed to counter defamation lawsuits. Oh, hang on. This shows up, by the way. Damn, I gotta turn that off. Sorry. Did you post it in Gen Chat? You did. Funny meme compilation of people roasting Tate for his outfit when arrested. Okay, I need to see this. Oh no. Hang on. Alpha male Andrew Tate arrested in an outfit so feminine it sparked endless jokes. Oh my god! Oh my god, dude. That's so fucking funny. Oh my god, that's so good. Andrew Tate is a femboy confirmed. Probably. If it wasn't for the fact that he was raping underage girls, you know? It gets better. Oh no. Yeah, true. This is MAGA. And can I say it would be a banger Halloween costume? You know what I mean? Yeah, that literally looks like him. Yep, there we go. That's banging. What the fuck? Why does he look like... Yeah, I understood that. Wait, what is this? There once was a wanker called Tate, whose fashion sense wasn't that great. He dressed like his granny. The feckin' big fanny. Oh, god damn it. What an embarrassing state. True. Okay, this is the same joke again. 6-inch heels by popular demand. Oh, look. Yeah. There's a lesson to us all here, namely, never mix heavy and delicate fabrics on a high-heat tumbler dryer setting. Mr. Worldwide, indeed. What is this one? Who were... Yeah. Police add fashion crimes to the list of charges. True. Looks like Andrew Tate got it. Okay, cool. Years spent cultivating the image of a billionaire playboy, only to discover the look is apparently available in aisle 7 at ASDA. Very cool. Why are you in here? I'm Andrew Tate's wardrobe consultant. Andrew Tate has been arrested by the fashion police. True. Andrew Tate was arrested wearing Doris Day clam digger slacks and a kicky purple blouse. Okay, very good. Thank you, Stumbling. That was based. Okay. We are confident that once a competent judge sees the facts and once the Department of Justice confronts this erroneous abuse of its own authority, Andrew and Tristan Tate will walk free. America does not do Britain's political dirty work. First of all, I don't know what to say, dude. Like, indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. Like, I mean, this is a really dark fucking thing. Like, obviously, this was the case ages ago when I think one of the women that he was dating and like being really abusive towards was at the time that they were dating would have been 15 years old. Like, he's just a disgusting fucking person. I feel so bad for those women and the fucking children that had to deal with this disgusting piece of shit. I remember like listening to someone at my work like actively defending this guy, saying, yeah, he just says some crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, he also traffics minors. He's actually disgusting. And he sounds like a fucking dork. Have you ever heard him talk? Let me tell you something about all these women. These women love money. They're all a bunch of gold diggers. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like a nasally little fucking bitch. Oh, look at this.
There's a version of you that never sleeps in, never skips training, never wastes time.
There's a version of you that never wastes time. This is what he sounds like. And people are like, this guy is so alpha. Where's the picture of him, Andrew Tate? Here, let me look up here. Like, you're telling me this dude. Like, it's funny to meme about him, but it's pretty clear it's really dark. So yeah, I know. It's not minimizing. It's okay. It's just fuck me. This guy is so disgusting. We could use this in the thumbnail. Yeah. Oh god. Anyway. What was the outline I wanted to focus on? I didn't even have one, dude. Fuck. I need to come up with an outline for what I want to focus on in that video, like. Because I can't just like I was thinking for the Andrew Tate one, stumbling. Actually, are you on V's Discord? Why do you not have perms? That is the real reason. There you go. You should be able to join the channel whenever you want. I don't know, that arrest fit seems like a good choice. I think he should have just been tased right from the get-go. Can you blame stumbling on this tangent? No, because stumbling is cooler than you. I just called you stambling. Like, what is wrong with me? That was the most Australian way to say stumbling. Stambling. Yeah, that's okay. I just, in the future. Anyway. Oh, Dude, there are so much things. So little time. What have I been streaming for? Andrew Taste. Indeed. See? That's a good joke. You know? That's a good one. I've only been streaming for like less than a couple hours, I think. Oh no, about 3 hours. Jeez. Jeez Louise. Almost long enough to be a food shop stream. Okay, I think I might end it there. I think 3 hours is plenty long enough. I'll be on tomorrow. Maybe in 10, but we could do a review of his shitty business practices. Yeah, that would be sick. I wanted to do, what I was thinking is we could split the work into different things, right? Because I wanted to focus my end more on the culture side of it, and then have you help break down a lot of the legal stuff. And I really liked this idea of you helping me with understanding not just the shitty business practices, like the exact structure of his like little empire that he built in Romania, right? Because there were so many, like, he was very much just grabbing people, like offering these women like different jobs or something like that. Like, I think they were modeling jobs, and then they would come to Romania and they were functionally kidnapping them and forcing them into prostitution, I think, right? It was like, it really is absolutely disgusting what he did. And I'm so disappointed in a lot of young men who just see this bloke and what he did and think it's okay. Like, I don't know. It's a bit blackpilling. But anyway. A daughter politician? Chinchilla, you always give like a third of the context. Like, that was a minor. Okay. Thank you. Flying them out, taking their passports. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Thank you for stopping by. I had fun. I will be probably on tomorrow. I'll try and stream a little bit earlier too. I just randomly was like, you know what? Because I'll just fucking jump on and stream and do some research because I'm going to do it anyway, right? Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you all have a good night. Well, day or whatever. You know, you're all in. Oh, look, this is. Rah, rah. Yes. We will get to that, Chinchilla. All right, I'll catch you later. All right, bye. Bye.